Hello. So we're going to do a very quick overview of the revolt of the Northern Earls, one of many revolts that Elizabeth had to contend with during her reign. Now, I guess it's the first thing we need to do is have a look at what it was all about. So, who was involved and sort of why it happened and why they wanted it to happen. So, we'll just have a look at that now. Um, Something that's sort of really relevant and important to sort of understand about this particular revolt and the people involved is much of the nobility in the north of England were Catholic. So, Elizabeth had made lots of changes to the religion, hadn't she? She'd introduced the religious settlement, the Act of Supremacy, all these types of things, and many of these people wanted England to be Catholic again. There was also a lot of resentment in the north of England about the appointment of this man, James Pilkington, as the Bishop of Durham. People resented him and they wanted him out. Boink. There was other issues that nobles had to face as well. They felt that they'd lost a lot of influence under Elizabeth. So since Elizabeth had gained had come to power, they felt that the new faces that she was bringing into the court, people such as William Cecil, Robert Dudley, and John Forster, all names that you need to familiarise yourself with and do further research on. These nobles felt that they were having a lot more influence and a lot more say, and in fact that the nobles, were losing power. Also, Elizabeth refused to name an heir. Now, this created a lot of uncertainty throughout England. She never married, she never had a child, and she refused to name a successor. So this kind of left a sort of a power vacuum and left question marks about who was going to be in control after she'd gone. Now, I guess you're all sat there screaming at the screen. Tell us who's involved. Let us know. Okay, I'll tell you. You can stop shouting. Don't worry about that. So, we've got Thomas Percy. He was the Earl of Northumberland. Anne Percy, the wife of Thomas. Charles Neville, the Earl of Westmoreland. And Jane Neville, his wife. You can see it's a bit of a family affair. We've got Thomas Howard, the Duke of Norfolk. And we've got Mary, Queen of Scots. Now, Mary, Queen of Scots and Tom Howard were planned to be married as part of the plot. So the idea was Mary, Queen of Scots, would marry the Duke of Norfolk. They then together would remove Elizabeth from the throne, and Mary would become Queen herself. Remember, many Catholics felt that Elizabeth had a legitimate claim to the throne. She was a descendant of Henry VII, and there was question marks over Elizabeth's legitimacy, being the daughter of Anne Boleyn, etc. And many felt that Mary, Queen of Scots, a Catholic, had more of a right to the throne than Elizabeth. However, that man, Robert Dudley, heard about the plot and it was foiled. Norfolk was arrested and imprisoned in the Tower. That might be the end of it, you would think. The marriage plot has failed. The Duke of Norfolk is in prison. That must be the end. But no, not quite. So Northumberland and Westmoreland, with the support of their wives, of course, decided to continue. They took control of Durham Cathedral and began pushing south. Now, they were doing this thinking that they were going to get support from Philip II in Spain. Aware of what was going on, Elizabeth moved Mary. She was imprisoned in Carlisle and she was getting moved south to Coventry. The idea being that it was to stop her joining the rebels. It'd stop her escaping and joining the rebels. The rebels at this point had captured Hartlepool. However, the expected support from Spain hasn't come. Yeah, so they've kind of been, in a way, they've been left stranded. So why did it fail? Well, as I've mentioned, the support from Spain never came. The expected support from Philip II in Spain never arrived. Also, many northern landowners still supported the Queen. This might stem from the fact that during Henry VIII's reign, during the dissolution of the monasteries, those landowners that were loyal to the king received a lot of money and land as payment. Now, landowners in the north felt that perhaps they could be putting that at risk if they went against Elizabeth. So I guess we've got to ask the question then, is the revolt of the Northern Earls important, and sort of what were the outcomes of it? Well, it showed that Mary Queen of Scots could not be trusted, and this was going to be something that would repeatedly pop up and be a thorn in the side for Elizabeth for a number of years. The Pope excommunicated Elizabeth and called on loyal Catholics to depose her. So now you've got this idea that the Pope is giving his blessing for people to try and get rid of Elizabeth. So this encouraged more Catholic plots. So then this in turn sort of questioned the loyalty of England's Catholics, and Elizabeth felt that harsh measures were needed. But overall, her control of the north was strengthened. So just a very quick summary there. I hope you find it useful, and I'm going to be putting up some information about further plots in a little bit. Thank you.